Good morning, everybody. We're just going to take a few minutes to let everyone in from the lobby. If you are here for the Career Insights with the BC Public Service, you are in the right place and the most exciting place to be on a Monday morning after your clocks have sprung forward an hour. So welcome. Feel free to turn off your mics and your cameras. We are recording this session. You will be able to view this after. I'll just ask everyone to mute their mics and turn off their cameras, and we will start momentarily. Hopefully everyone can see the screen. You should be seeing a PowerPoint presentation. The title page is Career Insights with the BC Public Service. If you do not see it, please note it in the chat, and we will make sure that you can see and hear the presentation. I think there was a lot of interest in this session. We had about, I'm going to say close to 90 students who registered. So I'm hoping that everyone shows up. Yay! So welcome, Tatiani. How are we doing? Do we still have people in the lobby?
Everyone in the lobby is in, but students still popping.
Okay, we'll give it a few more minutes. Welcome, everyone. While we're waiting, I'll just introduce myself, and then I'll probably repeat it again in a few minutes because I know there's a lot more people coming in. So welcome to the Career Insights with the BC Public Service. This is one of the last, actually, this is the third Career Insights session we've had so far. And this is going to be the best one this month. For many, many reasons, and once we open it up, you'll see why. So welcome. This is one of the, I think this is the 5th event of the Career Day 2024 parade of events that we have, and of course tomorrow is our Career Day enrichment. For any students who are online, we are still looking for a couple of bodies to help volunteer. It's a great opportunity to get to know our employers personally. You'll be helping escorting them as they set up. So if you have time and if you're in Richmond in the morning, we do need a few extra volunteers. Please put your interest in the chat and Tatiani can give you some more information. So we are recording this session. Let's see. We have also turned on, and I'll repeat this later, but we have turned on the live captions. I believe in order for you to see the captions on your screen, you need to turn it on your end. So if you need any assistance, somebody can check the chat. There will be some additional information on how to do that. Tatiani, I think I'll start in a moment, or?
Yes, we have 29 participants right now. One more student to get in.
Okay.
You can start. If anyone come in, I will let them access.
Okay, great, awesome. All right, so now I will officially start, and I'll try to talk slowly to give time for everybody else to come into the meeting. So welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, happy Monday. You are if you're looking for the Career Insights with the BC Public Service, you are in the right session. My name is Gita Shalig. I am the Employer Relations Strategist with the CDC, and I will be facilitating this session. We have a guest here from the BC Public Service. I will introduce you to her shortly. So just a few things. I'm sure you already know this. Please keep your cameras off and your mics off for the next little while. when we open up the student question and answer period, you're welcome to turn on your cameras and your microphones if you like. We will take the questions at the end. During the session, if you have a burning question, feel free to put it into the chat. We will have a moderator taking a look at it. So for any questions in the chat, please start it with the letter Q. That way we know it's directed at our team for question and answer period. So once again, my name is Gita Shalig. I'm the Employer Relations Strategist, and welcome. Welcome to the Career Insights with the BC Public Service. I want to quickly introduce you to Tatiani. Tatiani Silva Robinson is our Career Services Officer. She'll be managing the call. So if you have any technical issues in the background, please put a message into the chat. She will help address any issues you're having. She'll let you into the call if there's any problems with your mics or your cameras. She can help with managing the technical aspects of it. So again, mics and cameras off. We are recording and we will get started. So this is, as I mentioned earlier, this is the parade of events that we've been having. This is the 5th event. Some of you may have already come to the previous one that I facilitated, which was the Demystifying Careers in the Federal Public Service. Now what we're looking at today is the BC Public Service. I mentioned earlier, we are looking for volunteers at the Richmond session tomorrow morning. If you're free, please enter it in the chat. Also, if you stay to the end of this session, and why wouldn't you, your name will be entered into the draw for some pretty sweet prizes. So stick around and enjoy. Before we actually get into the presentation itself, I just wanted to do a quick land acknowledgement. We at Kwantlen Polytechnic University respectfully acknowledge that we live, work, and study in a region that overlaps with the unceded traditional and ancestral First Nations territories of the Musqueam, Katzie, Semiahmoo, Tsawwassen, Kaikwet, and Coquitlam, and with the lands of the Kwantlen First Nation, which gifted its name to this university. Thank you, everyone, and welcome. So I wanted to just quickly do an agenda. What are we doing here today? So housekeeping, mics are off, cameras off, we are recording. The session really today is basically, we're going to do some quick introductions and then roll into the presentation from the BC Public Service. So this presentation includes a bit of information about like what are the benefits of working there. We're going to walk you through the hiring process and then just some common questions that you might have that will help you enhance your, if you're the applicant, your ability to refine your application, prepare your tips on your resumes, and then also what kinds of other things would there be to help you answer any screening questionnaires and prepare for interviews. So these are the 3 things that we're going to be sort of focusing on as eligibility criteria for applying. And this is for career launching opportunities or co-op positions as well, potentially. What does the application process look like? There's, what is the pre-screening questionnaire? What does that look like? What are the KSAs, or the knowledge, skills, and abilities? And then, of course, some details on the interview stage. Then there'll be some discussions around, what sort of careers are at the BC Public Service. We'll have somebody take you through, look at actually the job board or the portal, and then you'll actually also have some firsthand experiences from 2 people who have actually worked there, or are working there, and then they'll talk about their journey in the public service. Then we'll go right into the Q&A. So the Q&A will be moderated by Leila Bonner. I'll just get Leila to wave. So Leila is the second half of the employer relations team. She works with me, and so she will be monitoring the questions in the chat. And then we will wrap it up. So we want to have, most of the time will be to our presenter and your questions. So as you know, this is brought to you by the CDC. I'm sure everybody already knows who they are, the Career Development Center. We are the employer relations team, and our goal is to help students align their academics with career readiness. So what does that mean? Essentially, our goal is to help you prepare for success in the workplace and help you build a foundation for lifelong career development. The CDC has a variety of services that we do. So all our career fairs, our job boards, all the volunteer, we do all the employer relations outreach work. All of that is really to help students develop a career development plan, help with your exploration. The career insight sessions are really focused on exploration. So the idea is to bring in employers, to bring in experts who are able to share with you some knowledge, their experiences on how students can navigate career launching opportunities. So that's kind of why we have these sessions. And I'm hoping that it's very useful to you. So I think we're ready to go. So I will now, without talking anymore, I would like to introduce you to Manpreet Atwell. Manpreet is a seasoned HR professional with knowledge in a variety of areas such as learning and development, health and safety, recruitment and selection, change management, focused on collaboration and communication. And most notably, she holds a postgraduate degree in human resources from our very own KPU. So I'd like to everybody give her a round of applause and welcome Manpreet Atwell from the BC Public Service. Yay!
Thank you.
So I'm going to hand it over to you. I will stop sharing.
So
Have I stopped sharing?
I just took it over because I didn't see
Perfect.
slides, Geeta. Yeah. So I'm just confirming if everyone can see the PC Public Service slide.
Yes, we can see.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much, Geeta, and the team. I am very excited to be here. Thank you for joining me today to learn more about BC Public Service. My name is Manpreet. The title of my role here at BC Public Service is a recruitment marketing strategist. And what I do is I help connect external job seekers to rewarding careers in the public service. My career journey with BC Public Service has been since Halloween of 2011. So I was lucky enough to start on Halloween. It's a great marking point to my anniversary here with the organization. So this Halloween will mark 13 years with the organization. As Geeta has mentioned, today we're going to go over answering some application questions you may have. I'll also provide you an insight on how I landed the work that I do. And take you through some of my Kwantlen alumni career path and journeys. You will see a QR code that's presented here on the slide. If you scan over that with your cell phone camera, it's going to take you to our career conversation workshop page. We do run bi-weekly online Zoom workshops. They're free to join. They run from noon to 1. So it's great for those that don't have classes. And if you're working, it's during most of the times lunch hour. And it's just going to basically be there. What they do is basically review what I'm going to be talking about today. But sometimes you may find it useful to go through an application, and then you'll think of some questions while you're going through that process, and then you can sign up for a workshop in the future after actually applying. In case you have any questions about how your experience went, or any other questions that come up for you. So please keep that in mind. The page should also highlight some resume templates that we have, as well as cover letters, and it also takes you to the link of our external job search engine. So a little bit of a one-stop shop for everything. And I'm going to jump into our review. So this is what we're all about, eligibility. First off, all applicants to BC Public Service must be at least 16 years of age and eligible to work in Canada. Unless otherwise stated on the posting, you must be a Canadian citizen, a permanent resident, or be able to work on a temporary work permit. When you're looking for work as a work permit holder, you want to look for the word auxiliary It's just another term for temporary. And the reason you want to look for that work is it allows you to work on a temporary basis because your work permit has an expiration date. There's not traditionally there's not that many jobs that have been available for auxiliary work. However, judging from the way the labor market is, knowing that a lot of our talent comes from other countries internationally, BC Public Service is working on making more auxiliary positions available. So you will start seeing a lot of positions, more and more positions come up where they are hiring for permanent and auxiliary, giving both types of applications an opportunity to apply. And then they would just change that offer to auxiliary if you're a work permit holder, or permanent if you're a Canadian citizen or permanent resident. Who are we? BC Public Service is provincial government. They're an award-winning employer. They've been recognized as Canada's top 100 employers. There's over 35,000 employees working in 200 different job types across 280 communities, so it's all throughout BC. There's 20 plus ministries, so you'll have heard of Ministry of Forest, Transportation, Children and Family Development. Those are all ministries that are a part of BC Public Service. BC Public Service strives to offer career opportunities in every geographic region. That is why we have so many opportunities available to apply for. And we have an entire resource center page designated to our equity and diversity and inclusion initiative. So you can actually Google our EDI Resource Center and learn more about all of those initiatives that are on the go. What we offer. In addition to offering opportunities to help you grow your career, there's a lot of attractive benefit packages. One of the things that we'd like to highlight is that the value of your total benefits package is more than 20% of your salary, which grows the more you use your benefits. Some other huge highlights is the public service pension plan. You know, you're young, and when I was in Scotland, I was the least interested about a pension plan. But when you get educated about it, regardless of your age and your phase of where you're at, I think it's a very attractive thing to know that while you're working, you're earning enough so that when it comes time to retire, you won't need to have this separate pension account lined up through your bank or through any other investment you've gone through, because it's such a secure and very popular pension plan that is grown very rapidly because of the savings that you acquire through every paycheck. Scholarships. We have a Pacific Leaders Program that a lot of people aren't aware of, especially before joining BC Public Service. But this program basically allows you to go to school while you're working with BC Public Service and get some grants issued to you, depending on whether you're in a post-degree program or a master's program. And the children of BC Public Servants can also exercise this benefit. We also have a loan forgiveness program for those that have a BC student debt. So that is something that you can look into when you are employed with BC Public Service. And of course, the extended health and benefits that we offer are in line with a lot of the organizations that range from your basic health and dental work all the way to enjoying the amenities around massage therapists and physiotherapy, chiropractor, and more. And of course, the government rate discount that you may get at a lot of hotels throughout the province and sometimes outside of the province as well. Remote work, that is something that we are growing more and more into post-COVID. That is one thing that did stem out of COVID for us, that a lot of jobs had gone remote, work from home 100% during that time, which enabled lots and lots of people to be in work still. And the government kept all of its services to its citizens consistently available during that hard time. But with that came the realization that a lot of work can be done remote. So you'll see that there are a lot of remote opportunities as well as hybrid opportunities. Hybrid is where you're working maybe 2 days in the office and 3 days at home, or vice versa. And then there are some on-site positions still. And those are usually around, I'd say, forest or natural resource, where it's very important to visit a site or be on site for public-facing jobs. So when you're seeing clients of any sort, those jobs will continue to be on site. But I would say a majority of them are now remote. It is a feature that is available on our job search. So when you are looking for work, you can definitely indicate if you're looking for just remote work to show up. Common entry points. So these are just examples of some positions that are available that are common to get into BC Public Service. They're not the only ones, but just examples of some common ones. Employment assistance worker is the first one on the list. This is the position I went into government as an employment assistance worker. This position is with the Ministry of Social Development and Poverty Reduction. It is customer service oriented, 1 year, 6 months to 1 year at the time that I had applied for it, of customer service experience in a financial setting where you have data, numbers, financials of any sort as your portfolio, and a lot of customer service. So this one, basically you learn the BC legislation, which is huge for a lot of the positions within BC Public Service. It allows you to speak to clients that are most vulnerable in BC. These are the ones that are looking for financial assistance in order to support themselves and their families. So it's very empowering to be able to interview these families, look up their financials, base it off of our legislation of what works and what doesn't work. Sorry, not what doesn't work, but what is acceptable for a financial support criteria and what isn't, and then you base your decision off the legislation. So you get a lot of experience with the law, a lot of correspondence experience in writing and in person. You're dealing with a lot of frustrated clients, so the ability to be able to de-escalate situations, it's a huge skill that you learn through this position. It's very well-rounded, and it provides a lot of opportunities afterwards when you get this under your belt. So that's one that I would say definitely look out for. I'm an ambassador for them because I'm very proud of the work that I did and so many others continue to do within this ministry as part of being an employment assistance worker. And then you have the court clerk, a position available with the Attorney General. That's the ministry that's in charge of the court clerks. Any court-related, any law-related work you'll find in the Attorney General Ministry, if that interests you. And you can look it up on our job search to see what the requirements of that position are. There's also a central office support, program project support, and the analyst roles. These are up-and-coming roles, I'd say, within the last 5 years, really the amount of analyst roles that we're getting. It's a lot of data that the government is receiving in all parts of ministry work that needs to be compiled and presented in a unique and creative way. So you'll see roles around data in analyst roles, program analysts and policy analysts. These, I would say, are huge amongst college graduates. The program that you take in school, whether it be global affairs or business, any type of even natural resource fields, enables you to have skills during your coursework that prep you for positions in analyst work. Your courses around economics, accounting, your group work, any practicums that you do can all be used as experience, as long as the posting does not say professional experience, which normally doesn't. Most of the times it's just experience, and your coursework can be used for it. So it is a very popular position for graduates and something that you can look at. You will almost always find an analyst role on the go on our job search, which is great. And it's an exciting way to get your foot in the door, regardless of where you're at with your degree, if it's in that field or not. Great way to get your foot in the door, and then move your way up. And then we have our internships and co-ops. So BC Public Service is a part of a co-op program. They also offer some internships. The next slide that I show you is going to get into the 3 types of internship programs that we have in the co-op program. But generally, there's the Indigenous Youth Internship Program. That's a 12-month paid internship for up to 25 young Indigenous British Columbians from the age of 19 to 29. We also have the Work Able internship. This is a unique opportunity for recent BC post-secondary graduates within 3 years who identify as having a disability to work with BC Public Service. And our most popular is the co-op program, which provides students with a work placement in BC Public Service and allows them to explore public service and expand their skills and competencies by working on projects that support their field of study. And lastly, the Youth Employment Program. This provides students with a work placement in government that allows them to explore public service and gain practical work experience. So on the next slide, after I go through my hiring principles, we'll have a closer look at those programs, and there will be QR codes available to you as well that can help explain those programs in further detail. Generally speaking, the co-op program is very popular with 3rd and 4th year students because I think where you're at with your goals of which courses to complete, you're at the right phase to enter a co-op program if that's something that your area of study requires. And BC Public Service definitely works with Kwantlen University to set up a work placement for you. Hiring principles. When it comes to hiring, we want to create the most equitable environment we can. That's why we rely on our hiring principles to do this. Hiring decisions in the BC Public Service must be based on merit. Our hiring principles ensure that our application and hiring processes are non-partisan and consistent, as well as inclusive, fair, impartial, transparent, and equitable. You'll see the way that we upload our resumes and how they're accepted, and the way the application processes that I'll show you in just a bit, how that plays into the transparency, the fairness, and the equal opportunity for those that are applying. And additionally, as an accessibility confident employer, we want to be mindful of the needs of persons with disabilities. So if you do require an accommodation to assist in participating in a competition, there's always information in each posting of who to connect with. Usually a hiring manager is listed in that posting, and you can connect with them and let them know any accommodation that you may need. And then they work to the best of their ability to be able to accommodate you on that. Okay, so this is the chart that I was referring to just shortly when going through the co-op and internship programs. So you'll see to the left in the navy blue, the co-op employment program. These career portals are usually on the post-secondary institutions. So your CDC group will most likely have information about the career portal where the co-op information is posted. There is level 1 and level 2 co-op programs. So level 1 is for students working towards a diploma or bachelor's degree, and level 2 is those that are working for a post-grad degree. And the QR code under that will take you to more information. Sorry, no, it will take you to the salary lookup tool. So what you can do is when you go and scan over the first one on the left-hand side, it'll take you to the salary lookup tool where you can put in co-op employment program, the program itself, and see where the salary ranges if you were to enter that work schedule. And then you'll see the lengths of employment underneath that QR code. It's usually a 4, 8, or 12-month program. And you must be enrolled in a recognized co-op education program at an accredited co-op institution. And a list of those are available where it says more information about the program, the eligibility criteria, how to apply, what to look for. All of that's available on the bottom QR codes for each of these programs. Youth Employment Program is where you can find the job postings is through the career portals of post-secondary institutions once again, and the BC Public Service job opportunities page. So when there's an intake available for youth employment, you will see that on our job search by just searching Youth Employment Program. This is for high school students and post-secondary school students, as well as recent grads within the last 6 months. This work cycle is 4 months maximum. And again, you must be enrolled in full-time studies at an accredited educational institution or have graduated in the last 6 months. And then you'll see our internship program to the right. And where you'll find that information is again through your career portals of your school, as well as our job search page. This one is for secondary school grads or equivalent, as well as post-secondary grads, diploma or degree. This is a 12-month program, September to August, and then the different types of internship programs available around Indigenous, youth, and workable will be shown in the different QR codes. So just a little bit more comprehensive information. Feedback has been that a lot of students don't know about the co-op program available with BC Public Service. So we wanted to create a resource sheet that will help categorize all of the ones offered, as well as give you a little bit more insight through the QR codes. So that's what we're all about and the history of BC Public Service and what we stand for. And what I'd like to do now is go through our application process. So the first step is preparation. When filling out your application, it's important to cover the basics. Be clear, be concise, avoid acronyms, jargons, proofread, and tailor your resume to the posting. Remember, for your application to be considered, you must clearly demonstrate how you meet the education and experience required. You can do this by providing all relevant information about your education accomplishment and employment history, including job titles, your start and end dates of employment. Usually I enter my month that I started any jobs with and the year from and to, and your accountabilities and accomplishments. It's important to note that as part of your application, you may be asked to complete an online questionnaire to show how you meet the requirements. And those questions are usually 3 to 4 questions that ask you when, where, and how you met a certain skill. So as far as making sure that what you fit into your resume is applicable to the job, when you look at the job posting, you'll see job requirements. If there's 4 or 5 bullets in that job requirement list, make sure that your resume mirrors those. Each and every single bullet should be in your resume somewhere that speaks to each bullet. As your first step to tailoring your resume to the job posting. And that's also a reason why your resume will change every single time you apply for a position. And that's also why we don't collect resumes face to face. We only accept them online because each one is tailored to the job position that you're going to be applying for. The when, where, and how questions, there are about 3 or 4 questions. They're right at the first step before you even submit your application, are considered to be very easy per se, and a lot of people have that misunderstanding to be very brief, to be very simple. Say, refer to my resume, see my resume, I meet this, see my resume. Any of that actually disqualifies you from the screening stage. At this stage, most hiring managers or the panel is not looking at your resume. This is where we are trying to screen in sometimes hundreds of applications, depending on the position you apply for, entry level, or just multiple resumes. So in order to do that in a streamlined fashion, there's questionnaires, 3, 4 questions asked of every single person applying for that position, and those are screened. So when we ask a question like, describe when, where, and how you meet customer service skills, the when would be your date stamp, the month and year to month and year. It's kind of looking at, do you have a gap in your experience? Is it from one end to another? Is it broken? Is it recent? Is it in the past? There's a lot of information that your when, your date stamp can give to a hiring manager. So just a list of a date stamp would cover that question. The where, you would list your position, the organization, possibly the city, with work being all over the place. I'm always, I'm always careful to just put the city in, even though I know people might know where it is. I don't assume anything. If I have teller experience, I would put bank teller, CIBC, and Surrey, BC as my answer to the where. And then the how. This is the meat of your answer for this customer service skills one, for example. And this is where you want to put bullets or complete sentences, however you deem fit, about quantifiable measurements and quality measurements of the work that you do in a day, in a snapshot. So in order to show how you have customer service skills, I would speak to the amount of people that you helped in a given day as a teller, common questions asked, how many people on your team were there present at all times, what did the volume look like, a difficult situation per se, an example of it. That would cover your how. Keep in mind there's about 200 word maximum. It's highlighted on the question that you have 200 word maximum per question, and it does not time you out. You can write a novel. And so that's one of the easiest ways that hiring managers look to screen people out, is that they just look at where the word count is. And if it's over, then you're screened out, because there's a lot of assessment being done in this early stage, which is attention to detail, following directions, all those small little things that you may not be thinking of when you see this questionnaire. It does take time. It gives you 60 minutes online to do this questionnaire. It's taken me a lot longer than 60 minutes to do it. I usually copy and paste those questions into a Word doc, and I usually work on it for a day or two. I find that when I answer a question, I repeat it in a way in the next question. So in order to give my brain a break, I usually walk away, have a meal, come back and answer the second one, sleep on it, review it the next day. And then when I'm really ready to send, the 3 or 4 questions asked, then I go and submit my application. So that's just one way of doing it. It's not the only way of doing it, but there is a lot more involved on those questionnaires that I think people don't think about or expect. So just keep time available for the questionnaire part when you're submitting the application. All right. Step 2, the assessment. Not every competition requires an assessment, but when they do, they simply give us a sample of what you will bring to the role. So if your job will involve some type of correspondence on an everyday basis, like that employment and assistance role that I just reviewed with you, definitely deals with correspondence on a daily basis. So a written assignment would be something around writing a letter to a client or a partnership about a decision that you made. That would be a written assignment possibly for that role. Whatever that assessment is, they're looking at the knowledge, the skills, and abilities of how you demonstrate the competencies listed in the job. You get an opportunity to showcase your skills, your creativity, the sample of the work via that assignment. That's it for that piece. Interview. So once you've screened in with the questionnaire, you've gone on and completed a written assignment. Next phase after that is the interview. So once you've passed all those, you're ready for your interview. That is done in a STAR method, which stands for situation, task, action, and result. Very similar to writing an essay in school. The body of the paper or the actions is the meat of all of it, and your situation is just leading up the picture of what you're doing, what you're describing, the position, the organization you're about to describe. The task is very similar to a thesis in your paper. It's usually a sentence long. You were tasked with something. You took it upon yourself to task yourself with something, whatever that is. You want to highlight that. And then your actions is where you want to rest all of your information in, leading it up with a result, which may be a sentence or two. So thinking of it as a paper helps to figure out this STAR acronym. They are dealt in the behavioral competency skills. So when you go to the posting, which we will see shortly, you'll see any posting will have a Word document at the bottom. It'll go over what the job is about, the job requirements, all that information. And at the bottom, you'll see a Word document, which is a link to the job profile. When you open that up, it looks exactly like what you've just seen, the posting itself, but at the bottom of it, it has the behavioral competencies listed for that position. So that's basically your cheat sheet to what you will be asked of at the interview stage should you pass the preparation and the assessment part. This posting will disappear once the position closes. So when you get that information, I would save it and store it away. Great opportunity to start writing little clusters around the behavioral competencies listed for that position. A lot of positions have similar competencies that come up. So examples are problem solving, teamwork, leadership, results orientation. Those are all types of skills, but behavioral skills that may be asked of the position itself. So the best way to prepare yourself is to get that saved and think of situations that you would talk about should that interview come up. It's not information that you're going to waste your time with, because at any point when you apply and you get screened in and are asked to enter an interview, most of those skills will come up from position to position. So having that information prepared will never be a waste of time, in my opinion. It'll always help you. And you can do it well in advance from the interview. So that when that time comes and it's given to you 24 to 48 hours in advance to say, hey, you passed the written assignment and now get ready for your interview. It's in 24 or 48 hours. Here's the questions. You've already done your homework. You've already come up with the interview scenarios that you want to talk about. And now you just have to really maybe delve into it and break it down a bit more. So each question on the interview, you're asked 3 to 4, and you're given about 10 minutes on average per question. So that just gives you an example of how much information you can fit into each competency and how much detail you want to provide. Every little thing that you write, if you can answer why did I do this? I would answer the why. You want to talk about, if you're talking about a teamwork project that you did and, you set up calls with the team. Did you do them weekly? Did you do them daily? Why did you do it that way? Was it virtual? Was it in person? Why did you choose that way? So all those basic things that you don't think to write down or talk about it, because you're going to be able to talk really fast when you're nervous. You're going to be able to fit a lot of information. So you want to make sure that you have enough information to cover about 6-7 minutes. That's a healthy competency. So if you finish in 4 minutes when you're practicing yourself, you know that maybe there's a little bit more information that I can add in my actions. And that's how you assess whether it's a fulsome, a detailed competency. So that's just one insight around preparing. There are also Indigenous relation behavior competencies. So there's behavioral, and then there's Indigenous relations behavioral competencies. So both are listed on the job profile that you'll see on the posting. And then Indigenous relation behavioral competencies are developed separately, and they're dealing with working directly or indirectly with Indigenous people, or just different communities. So, if the question is in detail about, you're going to describe an Indigenous partnership or an Indigenous example of how you understood the culture, that's great. And you would pull from an Indigenous type of example that you may have. But if it's more of communities, understanding communities, dealing with different types of cultures, those are also questions that can come from the Indigenous types of behavioral competencies. And that's really just assessing your ability to deal with diversity, understand and respect different cultures, and different ways that you figure out how someone's tone is, how someone's response is, body language, eye contact, all of those things. So just something to think about when thinking about examples in your head, that those diversity questions are huge and are also assessed, as well as the skills around teamwork, leadership, results, etc. We do have hiring videos with tips and tricks. You will be able to find that on the first QR code that I had provided in this presentation, or you can just go to BC Public Service on the YouTube platform, and you'll see videos that walk you through how to prepare for the interview process in a little bit more detail. And once that piece is complete, you will have a past work performance as part of our factor of merit completed. So that's when reference checks come into play. I would have them available at the time that you get to the interview, because some hiring managers do ask for them then, or some follow up the interview afterwards on the same day or the following day to ask for your references, and then they complete a past work performance, which is basically a series of questions that they ask of your references. Usually they ask for a current supervisor, past supervisor, or a colleague that can speak to your work in a supervisor capacity. So that information is definitely something that you can do your homework on while you're looking for work, while you're preparing for your applications, and make sure that those references are made aware that this call or communication is coming, because you just want to make sure that they are mentally ready to receive that call and be able to speak to your work performance while working with them. We do call them, and then we do follow it up with a correspondence email if that is decided as the best route to fill out the past work performance piece. All right. Just checking my notes, making sure I covered everything. It looks good. So now I want to stop the presentation and I want to walk through a job search to make a few notes of that. So just gonna bring presentation screen over. And if someone can let me know if you can see that screen.
Yep, we can see it.
Perfect, thank you. So this here is our job search engine. I will put this link in our chat for those that want to follow along and click as well. So you'll see at the top here that we have our quick job search and we have our advanced job search. In advanced, there's a little bit more technical pieces that you can answer, a little bit more fields available, a requisition number, ministry, a little bit more about auxiliary work, the type of jobs that you're looking for. So that gives you a little bit more specific pieces that you can highlight. Or you could do the general where you can say, I want to look at all remote work, and maybe you're interested in a specific ministry, maybe not. You can indicate that. And then categories, you can indicate if there's a category that you are really, really, really wanting to find work in. You can highlight those. Your control button on your keyboard will enable you to highlight lots of them, or you can do one at a time, whatever works. I'm going to go ahead and put keyword as customer service. So say I'm looking for just customer service roles, trying to see what the government offers. I will go in and I'll see a list of 39 positions right now that involve customer service. Now, in order to understand all these numbers and then which ones to apply for at the level that you're at, these numbers are actually telling you the level of expertise or where these jobs stand in hierarchy. So our clerk 9, 11, 12, 15, these numbers are all indicating that they're entry level work, 9 to 15. And then they'll get into some 15, sorry, not 15, 18, 21, 24. That will tell you that this position is more intermediate. So they're going to probably ask for a little bit more job requirements around education and experience. And then from 24 onwards, 27, then you'll see words like band 1, band 2, band 3. Those are now getting into management and executive level work. So when you're dealing with a bunch of outcomes, that's a great way to kind of streamline what you're going to click into. So for one of these, say, let's go into the admin assistant role. I can see when I click into it that this is clerk 9, so I know that this is entry level work, probably not going to have that much job requirements, so let's take a look. I see that it's hybrid, meaning that there's going to be some days on site and some days at work. I have a salary range available here, which is telling me that this position can start at 48,72907, and it can range all the way to 54,899. Our jobs at BC Public Service have a 5-year, most of them have a 5-year grid. What that means is that you start at that lower spectrum of that grid that's highlighted in your salary range, and each year you move on up. So at the end of that 5-year mark, you will be hitting the maximum income that is highlighted there. So that's one way to figure out, okay, what's the maximum I can receive? What's the lowest I can receive? Of course, if you have experience of that role, you know, whatever you and the hiring manager negotiate at your level of entry is going to be in between that. Another date to look closely at is the close date here. This is basically telling me I have till March 25th to apply for this position. I know that it's regular and full-time. I know that it's with the Ministry of Public Safety and Solicitor General, and it's with the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch. I see that they require grade 12 graduation and 1 year of admin clerical reception experience, 2 years of experience working with the public or providing customer relations support, experience using standard computer applications such as word processing, spreadsheets, and databases. So in here, I want to really focus in on, okay, do I have 1 year of work that I can speak to around some type of clerical office setting work? And do I have 2 years of experience working with the public or providing customer relations support? The 2 years of experience working with the public can be something that you can speak to with your education. So keep in mind the group projects that you do in your career path within your school, your academics, and how much of it is where you are speaking to the public, you are speaking to organizations out in the community, and that can be used as your experience as well. So those are job requirements I want to make sure that I mirror in my resume. I want to make sure that it's it's highlighted that I have my high school diploma, and it's highlighted how I meet the admin clerical reception role in an office setting. So I would write something along the lines of like possess administrative experience in an office setting at ABC Corp. And then I would also highlight how I have experience working with the public, customer relations support. So I'd highlight the type of public groups that I was involved with and what type of relations I had to support that group. And of course, in my key skills that I highlight in my resume, I would want to put, I have knowledge of the entire Microsoft suite. And then I would just say, for example, word processing, spreadsheets, and databases. That'll cover my job requirements. Then are some preference statements. So when you cover all the job requirements, preference statements are what hiring managers will look at when they receive multiple applications that meet the job requirements. Then they're going to have to further streamline those requirements and look into preference to go more into a screening phase in order to get the successful applicant. So if you meet all the job requirements, look at the preference statements and see if you can fit any. If you can fit them all, that's great. If you can fit some, that's good. I would go into your preference statement, look at what there is there. How do you have the knowledge? Do you meet any of them? And put that information in. So in this one, it goes more into detail about admin language. You'll see records management systems, specific software programs that are available, e-approvals. So if you have any specific experience in any of the software, you can put that in there as a preference. You will see a contact name. This is usually the hiring manager in charge of the competition. It's usually a person. Sometimes it's a central inbox, most of the times a person. Great name to save, because once this close date happens of March 25th, this posting is going to be unavailable for me. So I'm going to lose Kim's name. So I'm going to jot Kim's name somewhere. I'm going to wait to see if I hear back on the competition. If I don't hear back within a month and a half, then I'm going to go ahead and ask Kim, about the requisition that I applied for, and I just wanted to know where the status is. Great person to connect with around that. If you have any questions about the job requirements or the job itself, great time to connect with Kim. I can't promise you that every single hiring manager is going to respond to you because of the volume of work. But it's a great thing to touch, test, send an email, and worst case scenario, you don't hear back, has nothing to do with you. It's just the volume of work and their availability. But sometimes you will hear back, and great connect to make. Jobs themselves can take up to 3 months average. So a month and a half is usually how long it takes to hear from the initial screening, which is the time that you submit the application to the next phase of written assignment. That's when all the applications are being reviewed and narrowed down. So that probably takes the longest. Then at written assignment phase, it could be another week or two process. And then interviews, once you're contacted to schedule an interview date, you'll see that the interview dates may be in another week or two. And then if they're doing multiple interviews, that could be 2 weeks time. So that can easily eat up a month.
That's good.
So he got promoted and he transferred to another branch.
Just hearing somebody, so I'm just gonna see if I can get them. Okay, so it could be an average of 3 months. It could be faster or it could be longer, but that's the average. Moving along into the posting, you'll see about the position information. This is where some specific pieces around, is there a list that can be established? Eligibility lists are quite popular, which mean we have running lists of all the successful candidates for the position that we're not able to fill. We probably just need one, but we'll have a list ready to go for any future vacancies from this position, from this competition. And those are usually, they can range from 6 months, 12 months to 18 months maximum. And then after that, the list expires. So it's great to be on eligibility lists. I've been on multiple eligibility lists. They do go quick. Depending on which position they are. If it's a common position, you will hear back. And it's just a great way to be on a list, know that you're done with the interview, know you don't have to interview again, because if your name comes up, that's an indication that you've already passed the interview. You sit on a certain number on the list based on your score of your overall competition, and you are offered a position as it comes up within a time frame that is going to be highlighted to you during that competition. So if you see the word eligibility list, it's a pro, it's great. Yes, it's going to expire, and at that time you will have to reapply and go through the whole phases again, but for some time you won't have to, and fingers crossed that that position comes up and you get an offer during that time. Any flexibility of the work, like remote, how the hybrid works, will be highlighted in this area. And because this is a hybrid position, it is highlighting that you are able to work up to 2 days at home per week, subject to an approved telework agreement that you'll have between your supervisor and yourself. And then it goes over some of our language around the applicant advisory services, the Indigenous application services, accommodation pieces, and any questions you may have of any of those areas. There's contact information and phone numbers available. And then lastly, how to apply. So it'll indicate if there's a cover letter required for the competition. This one is no, majority are no. Mostly it's resume and questionnaires. Very few are cover letters. So it'll say yes, yes, and then any additional information that's required of the position. Keep in mind the deadline time. Sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's 9:59, sometimes it's 10:59. So please take note, especially if you're a procrastinator. I have been that procrastinator that got it in like a minute before the deadline, and I misunderstood it as 10:59 when it was 9:59. So unfortunately, my hard work did not pay off for that competition because I missed it by an hour. But just some things to always jot down. The time does matter as well as the date. And then this is the job profile that I was talking about when I was telling you about the behavioral competencies and the little bit of a cheat sheet you get before the interview phase, should you be successful all the way to that phase. So I'm just going to open that up quickly. Again, same information as the posting, the accountabilities, job requirements, preference statements, and then at the end, you'll see behavioral competencies. So this one has a few. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that you can prepare for, and then an Indigenous one, so 8. So these are 8 examples you can think of prior to your interview. That will come up with other positions as well. They're very common competencies that are used from time to time again. So if you get started with the information now, it's not like you can't use it for another position. So this is just a great way to get started on that information. Think of examples. It'll tell you a lot about, okay, am I really ready for this position? Do I have, examples that I can speak to around this? Okay, great. I'm confident. I have something for every single one. I'm ready for this interview. The interview will have 3 or 4 of these, but you don't know which ones until you're told you've passed all the phases and it's time for interview. They may tell you 2 or 3 of them and may leave one aside. So it's just always to be well versed in all of those. And then that's how you read a posting itself. Now I'm going to go back to sharing my slide again. And as far as careers go, so I walked you through a customer service one, and then other areas of work, like if you're in arts or sociology or any broader education, customer service is the way, that's a keyword that you can use, and you will have your program of study fit into those roles. For science careers, there's economists, design leads, land resource specialists, architect work that you can also find. Those are keywords you can put in our job search. And then for business, the analyst roles are huge. So, even environmental studies, analyst roles are really good for accounting, finance. If you're waiting for that position you really, really want in that field, you can always look at an analyst role. Analyst roles are very broad in what you do, but very specific to the ministry or the area of work that you have studies in. So it's a great opportunity to just get your foot in the door and be able to get that experience through that role until you wait for a position to come up. Lastly, I just want to show a QR code for the newsletter that we currently have in the works. So it has not been launched, but we are working on it here at the marketing services team. This newsletter will have information about tips and tricks about the application process, similar to what I shared today. It'll also highlight some deputy ministers or ADMs that have some information to share about their journey and how they got to where they got. Any active postings during that time we'll have in the newsletter. So if you're interested, please do scan this QR code. And it's just asking to enter your email address. And you can always opt out at any time. There's directions on how to do that. There's an email address provided should you change your mind. But when it is launched, hopefully late spring of this year, you'll be on the distribution list to get that newsletter. So careers, I do want to back it up now to share my journey with as a Kwantlen alumni. So yes, I went to Kwantlen. I went to Kwantlen in 2010. So my journey was that I was raised in California, and I had a bachelor's of English education from California State University in California. I was ready to be a teacher, so I had relocated here due to family and friends being out here, and I went to the professional development program at SFU to get my teaching license. Began teaching here in Princess Margaret Secondary in Surrey, and a lot of my experience while going through my bachelor's degree was with grade 6, grade 7 students. And when I came to Canada and went through this professional development program to further my licensing journey and become an actual teacher, I had to take high school student practicums and work with high schools because of certain subjects that were required that I didn't have as an international student. So I had no experience teaching high school students, and I walked in there going, oh, they're just kids. Like, how hard could this be? But they changed my entire thought process of being a teacher. I was horrified. I was 21. I graduated very, very early with my college degree. I started teaching very young, didn't really understand the concepts of, all the principles and all the effort it takes and the cultural pieces that you really need to know in order to teach. So it was a not so pleasant experience being a teacher, to the point where I sat down, I think of winter 2009, and I had the Kwantlen website open. They were going to take in applications for the next term, and I just went, I have no idea what I want to do. I just know I don't want to teach. And I looked at the human resources field, and I was like, you know what? I like working with people, just not kids. And I like working in group settings. I like facilitating. I'm going to put my hand up for HR. And that is how I got into the HR program, the post-baccalaureate program in Kwantlen. And I met some lifelong friends during my journey at Kwantlen for a 1.5 year program. I landed my job as a teller with CIBC around the same time that I started going to school at Kwantlen and doing the coursework in the evenings, and worked in the mornings at CIBC. And with CIBC, it took me a 1.5 years to land the bank teller position at CIBC. I was appalled at the fact that it was taking that long to get any type of work with a American degree. I worked at Bank of America throughout my degree in California, so I thought it was just like, easy to get a job in another bank in Canada, and it was not. And that's with somebody with an American degree and American experience. So when I say that I understand how hard it is to land your first job and how much you have to work towards networking and really hustling and getting out there for career fairs and just establishing yourself, your portfolio, it takes a lot of work. So I hear you, I see you, and I will always be an ambassador for Kwantlen students in general, because I know how hard it was just to land any job, let alone something in my field. So I did go to the Kwantlen job fair when I was there, and I landed my CIBC job through Amanda, who I still remember as the recruiter for CIBC, who was there at that career fair. And she took a look at my profile. She took a look at the way I was speaking, the motivation that I showed, the passion I must have shown, the desperate degree of like, get me a job. And it just so happened that, she was able to provide me with a name of a hiring manager, spoke to them. They were ready for interviews, got me in, interviewed, got my straight training going. And so I had the Kwantlen and the CIBC journey alongside. And then I was working my way up until October of 2011, when I landed my job at BC Public Service as an employment and assistance worker. I had applied for that position back in March. So when I say an average of 3 months, I'm being very like pro that, yeah, it could take an average of 3 months. Mine took a lot longer. I know that practices have changed since 13 years ago, but it took me about 6 months to land this position, to get the email saying you've screened in. Went through that journey, got the interview, started working as an employment and assistance worker with the Ministry of Social Development. And I was able to use my facilitation skills from my HR degree and my teaching degree in this role, because I was able to become a facilitator on the side of the work that I was doing. I was able to enter projects where I could do software program training and teach indirectly to adults. So I really got that piece of teaching in through my work as an employment assistance worker, as just project opportunities. In 2016, I was an employment assistance worker for 5 years at this point, and landed my position as an assistant supervisor. So the role that I did it with a certain team, and I was able to become an assistant supervisor of that team, which was very empowering, because then I could take what I already knew about the role and what my colleagues already felt, and move it forward and say, these are some changes that we need operationally, and be able to really lead that change. And that enabled me to further go in and apply as a supervisor and become a supervisor for intake team. So I was supervising a team of 14. We were taking in applications of people that were applying for income assistance, and managing that portfolio, and managing the change management that came with COVID during that time, and how offices were closed and refunctioned, and how we went from work from home, offices to work from home, and I was able to lead all that with the group. And then while doing that, I was always curious to see, okay, well, it's been 2-3 years as an assistant, it's been 2-3 years as a supervisor. I'm ready for some change. And I started looking for another position, and a recruitment marketing strategist was located in the HR department, the public service agency of BC Public Service. And I gave it a shot. I was not successful the first time. And I was put on an eligibility list. When that eligibility list came up, they had a position available, but for only 7 months temporary. The good thing about temporary work when you're a BC public servant is that if the term runs out, you go back to your position, whatever that position was that you were at. So I would return as a supervisor, so I was secure in that sense. And so I was like, let's give it a shot. Let's go and see what this is all about. And at the end of the 7 months, they created a position for a recruitment marketing strategist as permanent. So I was able to go and interview for that, interviewed for that position, and got that position end of February of 2022. And 2 weeks later, I delivered my son, went on mat leave for 12 months, and came back with that position, with that peace of mind that I'll still have this position available. And I wanted to return after 12 months. Like, you usually have about 18 months or more as an option, but it is something that I was so happy, and I was so grateful for the fact that this position came up. I was successful in it. I wanted to give back to the team, so I made an effort to return in 12 months so I can just get back into the swing of things, and I enjoy the team. So that just motivated me to get back into work. But that is my journey to just show you that no matter what your degree is in, where your background's at, your entry level work, the job you land, the career you land may not be aligned with it, and it's okay. There are so many opportunities within BC Public Service where you can start and end up at, which, yes, if it's with your education, great, but don't close yourself to just those areas of work. They complement you, that your education complements you, but it's not just be all or end all. So I do want to move it over to Geeta to share her journey as well.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for the presentation and sharing your journey, Manpreet. I can't even explain how delighted I am. First, the information you've shared is phenomenal. Your personal journey, just showing how careers are not linear, there is no straight path, is just so reassuring to so many people, who are unsure. And like you said, you want to be a teacher, and you did the education, you got out there and went, oh, wait a second, maybe this is not for me. And so I do want to share with all the students that are here that Manpreet will be on site for the Surrey Career Day Fair on Wednesday. She will be at a table with her team. I know we're running out of time, and I do want to make sure we have enough time for question and answer period. So there is so many gold nuggets that you talked about, but just want to reiterate your mention of being patient, being prepared, doing your research, taking your time, just all of those great pieces of information and advice you gave is phenomenal. As far as my background, I worked in the public sector a long time ago, even before some of you were probably born. And my experience was slightly different. A lot of it was because the technology wasn't there, but I wrote down all the different roles that I took, and I'm just going to quickly share my screen just so you can see what I did. So I started out as a clerk. I took I had a marketing diploma, but I also went back to school and I didn't know what I was doing. I was doing economics, computer science. And then I was waiting for my an acceptance letter from UBC. So I took on this temporary assignment at the game farming branch at the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Food. And I became an auxiliary after my 1,827 hours. That was a big magic number. I don't know if that's still the case. And then I rolled into IT. It was there that IT opened up to me. I learned about the technology, and there was a massive shift in the way that the systems were being set up at the time. So I just happened to be in at that time, got a great opportunity. I went into training and doing user support. I loved it. And then I was selected as a trainer for the province. So this was around quality and operational excellence. So that's where I started doing process improvement work. Then I worked for the marketing branch. Then I moved on to business analysis and project management. My favorite job that I've ever had was working with the Ministry of Attorney General as an implementation analyst, because it was leading edge technology. We were changing the way that systems worked. I was working with the business. And then I moved on and did some consulting work from there. But there's just so many different places to launch your career. And I think for people who have an education and they're not really sure what they want to do, or maybe you know what you want to do, and like with you, Manpreet, you knew what you wanted to do, but then you had to pivot. I didn't really know, but I discovered an area, and I had a really wonderful career in technology. And then I changed my career just a couple years ago. So it's not linear. I do want to move it on to the students' Q&A, because I think there's a whole bunch of questions. So I'm going to pass it on to Liila to just let us know what questions we have for Manpreet.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Geeta. Thank you so much for your presentation, Manpreet. There was so much excellent information shared. I feel like students got a very fulsome view of what the BC Public Service looks like and how to access opportunities there. Acknowledging that we have limited time, I'm going to roll through the questions at a fairly steady clip, but I'll just launch them to you, answer them as you see fit, and we'll go from there. The first question, which may have already been mentioned, but I didn't hear it, was, does the BC Public Service provide jobs to students with study work permits?
As long as there is workability, like they do highlight, you're able to work 20 hours or so, whatever that is, as long as there's working hours, yes.
Okay.
Auxiliary work.
Okay, perfect. Second question, are there any forensics related jobs in the BC Public Service?
I want to say yes. I just don't know if they're always available, but you can definitely put in as a keyword forensics. There are, but I don't know if they come up often because they're seldom, but there definitely is forensics.
Okay, perfect. Next question, and this might be just a question that student required clarification on, so if it's been repeated, my apologies. What's the application process time for BC Public Service jobs for co-op opportunities?
Yeah, so it's an average of 3 months. It could be less, it could be more, but that's from the start when you submit your application to your offer letter.
Okay, awesome. Next question. Does the BC Public Service prioritize nationality when it comes to hiring? For example, preference for Canadians?
Nationality, no. I know there's preference for Indigenous because of the work that is asked. So we do have an initiative for an equity, diversity, inclusion piece, working with the Indigenous community. So there might be a preference put in there to give preference to Indigenous for that reason.
Okay, great. Next question. With regards to the co-op program positions, do students need to apply 1 year prior? If not, what's the lead time look like? Like when should students be thinking about applying if they want to take a co-op opportunity?
Not a year. The terms, if you go through the recording, you'll see on the QR codes when the term starts and when the application for it begins, but it's usually a couple of months leading to the term.
Okay, great. So for any students with questions about that, just a note, then you'll be able to go back through the recording and take a look at that chart.
Yes.
A little bit more of a chill question, so to speak. What's the thing you like most about working for the BC Public Services throughout your long career with them?
I would say defining endless opportunities. You might see that sign on our booth or behind us on our banners, and you might think, what the heck does that mean? And it means you are able to move from one position to another and jump around and really explore. I don't feel like I had that in any of the organizations I was with prior to, and it just helped me really build my portfolio in so many different areas. So that's definitely something that I love about BC Public Service.
That's great. That's a great answer and very clear from your career that you've been able to try a lot of different stuff. So that's awesome. I see Geeta's unmuted, so
I actually have I have a couple. So a lot of the friends that I made are still at the BC Public Service, and I just wanted to tell two stories. So one of my friends actually was in HR. She had a HR diploma. She is now a mediator, and she does conflict management, and she is so happy with her career, but it was all learning and growing and developing through the BC public sector, service, sorry. And she's worked for multiple ministries. So she has a phenomenal career, and it was something she never thought about. She didn't even know about it until she moved into different roles. So that was her career. And another friend of mine, she had a psychology degree. She came into the public sector just as a, I want to say like a child protection worker. She was thinking about social work. She ended up doing her master's in social work while she was working. So she was going to school and working. And now she is the Chief Information Officer for the BC, for the province of BC. So again, you can have these amazing careers in the BC Public Service. So I just wanted to add those two little tidbits as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
great notes there, Geeta. Next question. Are people who have references to go with their job applications given priority for any positions?
No, because we are sticking to a merit-based and equal opportunity based on our hiring principles, references are not something that we take into consideration. The only piece that does benefit that is if you're a BC Public Servant and we might have a posting that goes up, we may email that out to all BC Public Servants saying, hey, if you know of a friend or family member that wants to apply, let them know. And it's more of just sharing that news versus a reference.
Okay, awesome. Great. Next question. When it comes to job postings with the BC Public Service, is it recommended to apply for them even if you haven't fit all of the requirements?
I would say that you need to fit all job requirements into your resume in order to be successful in the career
Okay.
screening phase. So just think long and hard about which ones you don't fit and really think about your education and professional experience when making sure that you meet those.
Okay. Okay, great. I see another question has come in about that regarding, how many points in the actual, like bullet points of requirements in the actual job posting you should have to meet in order to kind of be moved forward to the interview stage. Well, it sounds like you're saying is the more the better. Is not really a percentage.
Yeah, because the job requirements is basically looked at as you meet the first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade. Okay, who meets them all? Great, we're moving forward with these. So you just want to make sure that you can really think long and hard about which ones you don't meet, and maybe you do. So just make sure that all bullets are mirrored in your resume.
Okay. Okay, perfect. I've seen one question come in from a student that looks like it's a bit more of a particular question to their case. So I'm going to see if I can just translate into maybe a more general answer here. The student looks like they have applied for an entry-level position with one of the ministries, the BC Public Service. They haven't heard back since a couple of weeks since their first round of interviews. In this case, would you recommend that the student reaches out to the people that they interviewed with? Is it something they should give more time for? What would your recommendation be?
Because you're at the interview stage, I would say get back to them, like see what they not get back to get in touch with the panel or the hiring manager, whoever you may know. They usually tell you at the interview conclusion how long it may roughly take. So if they did indicate 2 to 3 weeks, then you're okay. If they didn't indicate it, or if it was just 2 weeks and you still haven't heard back, I would reach out and say, hey, I'm just wondering where we're at with the status of this. They might just be concluding further interviews.
Perfect. Okay. Just for any students still with us at the moment, if you have any other questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. We are getting close to the end of the event, but we might have time for a couple more if they come in. So just keep that in mind. Next question. If a student completes a co-op term, what are the chances that there would be an opportunity for them to convert that job into a permanent position, or that it might lead into a permanent position with the BC Public Service? And, if they wanted a permanent position, would they have to reapply? What does that look like?
So you do have to apply for the position that you will be going for in the future after your co-op has ended. But there's a lot of benefits because when you are working as a co-op student, you have access to internal software programs that may come up as job requirements that the general public may not have. You'll have access to legislation, to the culture, and just other areas of work that you may not know about if you haven't had that co-op opportunity. So the chances of you getting re-employed are high. We have lots of co-op students, former co-op students that have permanent placements now in BC Public Service, and that just speaks to BC Public Service and people wanting to come back. But I think your chances are high once you graduate as a co-op student because of the knowledge and experience you get.
Okay, perfect. Next question. The student has posed a scenario here, so I'll just put it into a different tense. If someone is, say, working a full-time job with BC Public Service, they're interested in going back to school to get, say, a master's degree to add on to the bachelor's that they currently have. Is that kind of further education part of the training and development program or options for people working with the BC Public Service? Would that be, or would even be, would it be, would flexibility be given to someone who is trying to pursue maybe learning while they're working with the BC Public Service?
The program that they could be involved with is the Pacific Leaders Program, which allows one to further their studies or learn while working for BC Public Service. Your work, I don't think, is going to get structured around your education. So if you have coursework that's during your prime time of work, which is usually 8:30 to 4:30. Sometimes it's this way or that way, but you won't be able to like leave work, go get, go attend a class, come back and continue work. You'll have evening classes. But that is something that is definitely supported to further your studies and be a part of specific leaders, which helps you pay for your schooling, for your further studies.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. We just have, I think, 2 questions left, or perhaps 3. When it comes to applying for jobs and providing references, are job references from abroad beyond Canada accepted?
Absolutely. I'm so glad that that question was raised. It's something that I
Yeah.
forgot to highlight, and I think it's important for you to realize that any experience outside of the country is valid experience. Gaps are valid. It just shows that life has happened and
Mhm.
things happen. It's okay as long as you're able to meet the knowledge, skills, and abilities asked for that position, regardless of where your experience is. You're golden.
Okay, awesome. Geeta, I see you've unmuted. Got something on your end?
Yes, I'm just cognizant of the time. I know we have about 4 minutes left. I just wanted to remind everyone that Manpreet will be at the Surrey Career Fair on Wednesday. So if there's some more burning questions, by all means, we will get to them. So I just wanted to mention that. And Leila, I'll just let you finish off the couple that you might have left.
Perfect. I just have 2 more questions, barring any more coming into the chat. People are welcome to put their questions in there. Even if we don't get to them today, we'll be able to post them to Manpreet, and anyone who's on campus for the career fair will be able to ask them in person. But last 2 questions. Firstly, this is a question actually I had on my end because we're low on student questions. What does the encouragement look like for people in terms of upward mobility within the BC Public Service? There's obviously opportunity to move around, but is there any opportunity to advance within a position that you've accepted within the specific position that you're currently in at any point in time?
Oh, absolutely. I think there's a lot of work that's created for you. Um, while you're in a position. For example, my facilitation skills came to practice because I highlighted that I wanted to teach. I wanted to continue teaching. I didn't want to lose those skills. So there were opportunities created where a policy changed or something came into play and they're like, well, we need to roll this out. We need to facilitate this. We need to train people. How are we going to do this? Oh, Manpreet's outlined that she likes to train. And I got to become, that portfolio came to me as an employment assistance worker. So I was able to build myself in that role because facilitation skills help me in the work that I do on a daily basis, help me network with all my colleagues within the ministry, help me hone in my skills of teaching and still keep that aspect of my career path. So at the end of the 5 years, I felt like I didn't know everything about being an employment assistance worker because the job's constantly changing, but I was at that level where I was like, I'm confident. I have lots of skills under my belt. If I want to move, I can. If I don't want to move, I could probably go somewhere else and say, okay, well, I want to do this piece and still practice it within this role. That opportunity was always created for myself, for my colleagues. A lot of us got those opportunities because we voiced it to our leadership.
Hey, that's awesome to hear. It's always great to hear when employer organizations are encouraging of development and progress for their employees. That's great. And the last question we have so far, in case anyone has a last minute question, you can still put it in the chat. The last question we have is, what is the best way to keep in touch with you? I see you've put your LinkedIn profile in the chat, which is great for any students who might be interested in connecting with you there. But if a student had more questions, wanted to learn more about the BC Public Service, and let's say they weren't able to come to Career Day for whatever reason, how would you recommend them getting in touch?
Yeah, LinkedIn is a great way to get in touch with me. We do have a marketing.outreach@gov.bc.ca email. I can put that in the chat. That is for general BC Public Service questions. So if you have any questions about an application process, something you went through, you can always ask on that platform. My email address is it's public knowledge. It's my first name dot my last name at gov.bc.ca, so you can track me down there as well. But LinkedIn is a little bit easier to filter and manage. I don't get back to you right away, but I do get back to everyone that does message. So if it's in regards to a question around an application process or general questions, you can reach me at LinkedIn.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for answering all those questions so succinctly. I'm really glad we were able to get through all of them. That looks like it's everything in the chat, and we are right on time. So I will pass it back over to Geeta to round us out.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the questions. And Manpreet, thank you to you for giving us your time and all this wonderful knowledge. I know that you and I had talked about possibly doing another workshop or another session, and we were trying to get a poll going, but it sounds like there was a lot of interested people. Our poll wasn't working. So just if you want to raise your hand and just let us know, would you be interested in doing another session with Manpreet? Would you be interested in coming to another workshop? I would love to know just by raising your hand. So looks like there's quite a few raised hands. I will work with you, Manpreet. I'll work with the BC Public Service and see what other sessions we can create that would be helpful for students. So yeah, big round of applause to you. Thank you so much. We look forward to having you and your team on site on Wednesday, and just a big round of applause from all of us. Thank you for participating and helping us learn more about the BC Public Service.
Awesome. It was my pleasure. Lots of information, totally overload. I get it. But do come and check out our booths on Wednesday. We do have some cute swag, and come say hi to me in person. I'd love to meet you.
Great. Great. Okay, awesome. I think we're just going to wrap that up. So thanks to all the students. Thanks to all the CDC team members. I think we can stop the recording. But yeah, fantastic. And Manpreet, this was amazing. I think the level of information,